Hello, football fans, and welcome to View from the Sideline podcast. We're back after the international break with all the action from the weekend where Norwich have put themselves in contention to win the Premier League. There were big wins for Chelsea and Spurs. United halt their slump and Arsenal are stung at Vicarage Road. We've got all the action from the EFL, and Pete has a double header this week with his teaser and also being our guest in the Predictions Challenge. We pledge our allegiance to Runcorn Town in our new FA Cup feature, and Chris has some stats in the wonders of white. Lots to go through this week, so let's get started. Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of our new season of View from the Sideline podcast. We're back after a week off, after the international break, all refreshed, relaxed and ready to go. And that's just you, Chris, I hope.
I've enjoyed some good results over the period that we've been away, so happy boy at the moment.
Maybe we should do it more often.
I might not in... say 2 hours time.
No,
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, so we've got the first round of the group stages for the Champions League matches this evening. So there's 2 going on at the moment. Pretty near the end, actually. I think
Inter Milan have just scored in the 93rd minute, so they equalising at Slavia Prague.
And then we've got 1-1 Lyon for Zenit. Yeah, so just comes to the end. But Chelsea have got Valencia. So kicks off in around 15 minutes. So we'll keep you up to date with that. So lots to get through this week, Chris. So we'll dive straight into Pete's teaser. So what have you got for us this week, Pete?
Okay, Rich. This week's question. Since Matt Busby in 1969, how many permanent managers have there been at Manchester United? This does not include Busby. He also took temporary charge in 1971, I believe, and it does not include Ryan Giggs or Jimmy Murphy, who are both caretaker managers. How many permanent managers have there been at United since 1969?
Okay, I think our record's going to go. I've not got a clue.
This is going to be a guessing thing, I think.
I'm trying to think how many years.
Well, considering
because that will take out.
I was about to say he was literally of my lifetime. I think he was at United for half of my lifetime. So, yeah,
we'll give it a go. Give it a go. You never know. But we're 4 for 4 so far this season. But this could be a banana skin for us. So we're gonna get straight into the Premier League review because there's lots to talk about. Lots happened at the weekend, and I think there's only one place to start. Really, we're going to go to Carrow Road. I don't think anyone saw this coming. I think Norwich was something like 22-1.
Yeah,
so it was 3-2 win.
It was a surprise win, I think. I didn't see the first half of it. I saw the first half on Match of the Day, but I watched the second half live. Really, really strange to see City defending so poorly, especially Otamendi. And I think it does, the question has to be asked, obviously, with Laporte out until, I think they've said, is it February? I think it's as far as, is it February?
Yeah, but I think it's early in the new year. I think I heard January, but
it's it on that performance. Teams will see that and they will definitely see a weakness in that defence now. Cover wise, they haven't really, other than Stones and Otamendi, I don't think they've really got anyone else of any experience. At centre, I know Carl Walker can probably play centre back if they were to move to a back 3, but it was surprising. Mendy for the third goal as well. What was going on?
I don't like these short goal kicks. They really,
of course,
I really don't like them. I can't see why teams aren't just sort of putting it long. They've done that for years and years and years, season after season. but now teams want to sort of play out from the back.
Seems to be the norm now, doesn't it? That's how
it makes me uncomfortable because it's just waiting for a mistake.
When you watch it, I would say that I felt that Man City were quite naive in the fact that I think that they underestimated Norwich quite a bit going into the game. And to be fair, Norwich, they have put in some really good performances this season. Even against Chelsea, they lost the game, but they were in the game for the majority of the game. Second half of the Liverpool game, they were really good as well. So 3 points for that's a massive win for them as well.
I mean, I think it's more of an upset because I think with Liverpool as well, you almost expect City and Liverpool to win every game that they play. Apart from maybe when they play each other, obviously because someone's got to lose. But they're the sort of almost like the toss of a coin game. But Norwich are in the Premier League and they're deservedly in the Premier League. So based on that, I mean, any team can beat anybody. Yeah. I do think Laporte is a massive miss for them. I know you mentioned Stones and Otamendi. I think Fernandinho can move back one to play at centre half if needed. John Stones is a £50 million international defender who, I mean, I'm pretty sure he played every game for England at the World Cup. So no sort of mug that sort of shouldn't be in a starting Premier League side. Otamendi, I'm maybe not so sure about. It takes me back to the summer when Guardiola said that they couldn't afford Harry Maguire. Now, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, they're one of the richest clubs on the planet, so I'm not sure that it's the case where they can't afford 80 million, unless it's something to do with financial fair play. But the thing that I wasn't 100% sure about with this game, and I think it's probably more apparent after the game and with the result, is why De Bruyne was on the bench, considering how well he's been playing.
Yeah,
now, I don't know whether it's I don't know if it's to rest him or whether they did underestimate Norwich. I mean, the players that City have got in their squad should, in inverted commas, should be good enough to beat Norwich, but the form he's in, he'd be the first name on the team sheet for me.
Definitely.
It's more of a case of going, well, let's try and get 2-0 up, 3-0 up, then bring him off, rather than not starting him and then expecting him to come on and change it. But
a huge credit to Norwich as well. They defended towards the end of the game. They were outstanding at defending, to be honest with you.
And they took their chances, and I think I'm all for. I know we've been talking about City, but I think it should be about, let's give the credit to Norwich, credit where it's due.
Yeah.
But a lot of the talk is around that there was a guy called Nigel at the weekend who phoned up on a football phone in who wanted Guardiola out. I mean, it's just honestly, I think they thought it was a prank, but
it is just silly, isn't it?
A fantastic win for Norwich, an absolute, and it's not great. I still think City will win the title personally because there is a long way to go.
Oh yeah, five,
and
6 games
it's one of those matches. I'm sure at some point in the season, Liverpool will lose a game. Everybody expects them to win.
Sunday, mate.
They've got Chelsea, yeah. Okay, speaking of which, good segue. So we'll head to Molineux, Wolves, Chelsea. Bit of a goal fest.
Oh, yeah.
I know you've got a lot to say, Chris, on this one. So I'll let you take it from here.
Well, it's not every weekend you're going to see your team score 5 goals, let alone away from home. I know Wolves are struggling a bit, with rotation of their team with the Europa League coming up as well. But I was really, really impressed with the performance overall. And obviously the blog that we put out last week, I did mention in there that how key the young players would be this season. And I think, it kind of highlighted that on Saturday. I know, again, questions were asked where the goals are going to come from, but Tammy Abraham seems to be putting that debate to bed at the moment. A great the third goal he scored. It's exactly what you want to see from your striker, taking on the defender, bit of pace, and a really nice finish.
I just got a quick question the other way though, Chris. They are conceding a lot of goals.
Yeah, I was getting onto that.
Oh, sorry. You can tell we haven't spoke before we've done this.
Still, obviously there is a question on the defence. Obviously conceding the 2 goals, they weren't great goals to concede. Obviously one of them was an own goal, Abraham again, and obviously their second goal again was a bit of a mistake at the back, but.
It's the second highest goals conceded in the league, just
if you've already
behind Norwich.
I ain't that concerned, to be honest with you.
You're going down the you score 3, we'll score 4 route.
Yeah, that's
for Chelsea this season.
Tomori's goal for a centre back was something quite special as well. But
did he mean that? Was it a shot or was it a whipped in cross?
I think it from the way he hits it, I think it's a whipped cross. But I think.
The keeper seems hugely out of position because it's not as if it's in the corner, really.
No.
But a good goal. Yeah, I'd say I meant it if I scored it.
Yeah, obviously we had Man United first game of the season. We lost 4-0, so I think Sunday's game against Liverpool. I think you'll be able to kind of see now how we will do against these big clubs. Now that the team is sort of gelled together. We've had 5 games together now. You'll be able to see if we can compete with Man City and Liverpool, which I don't think in the season overall. I don't think we will. But just going on Sunday's game, see if we can give them a game, or whether we just sit back and let them attack, which is totally the wrong thing to do. But you never know.
Where do we stand on Pulisic? Because he was almost like the saving grace because of the transfer ban, the big signing, joined in January, was a replacement for Hazard, and he doesn't seem to have sort of set the league alight. But is that because the others are performing better than we thought?
Yeah, I think he's slightly being overshadowed by Abraham and Mount especially. I don't think anyone really expected Mount to have this much game time than what he's actually getting.
He's been really impressive.
Yeah, he's been really, really good. And I think I know Abraham's been scoring a lot of goals, but Mount, I think, is probably the best player we've so far this season for us. And he changed it slightly as well, formation-wise. We played 3 at the back on Saturday, and Lampard did say after the game he wants his team to be able to rotate formations to suit how. The game that they've got next. Obviously, Wolves played with 3 at the back as well, so we kind of mirror image the formation. But no, I was pretty happy. I know we conceded twice, but I was very happy.
I think it's going to Wolves and getting 3 points is a decent result, and the way, I hate to say it, but the way Chelsea did it, I think credit where it's due. Just quickly from a Wolves perspective, so still yet to win a game this season, which I think is really surprising.
You look at that last year, exactly the same position.
Yeah, so I know we mentioned it on the last podcast, but so they've won every Europa League game they've played, but yet to win a league game. So I think they've got 3 points from the 5 games. So I think that's 3 draws, and then that's their second defeat on the trot. So, which is, I know, I'm sure they'll be fine. I don't think that we'll put Wolves in sort of a relegation conversation, but they've got to start winning at some point. So speaking of a team that needed a win, Old Trafford, Man United v Leicester. I get the feeling, going into the game, for me it was certainly more about the result than it was the performance. I think that United and Solskjaer have been getting quite a lot of stick lately, and especially playing Leicester, albeit at home, because I think the whole Old Trafford being a fortress has almost sort of,
I don't think
it doesn't really exist anymore. And I think that the way Leicester have been playing, I think Leicester were a lot of people's favourites to win that going into the game.
Well,
And I thought I thought both teams were a bit disappointing, to be honest. I thought Leicester, it's almost as if Leicester dropped a level. And I wouldn't have necessarily said United thoroughly deserved the win. I mean, I thought it was quite an even game, to be honest. Leicester had their chances, United had their chances. I'm not. It was the penalty as well. I'm not wholly convinced it was a penalty, but I think it depends what. The first time I watched it, I think, yeah. Or the more times I watch it, the more sort of I'm in a bit of a grey place with it about whether it was actually a penalty or not.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. I thought the game itself was quite poor, but I can't help but think, obviously, with the players that United were missing, that Leicester. I don't think any team. I think they won't have a better chance at beating Man United at Old Trafford than what they did on Saturday. I think they were missing some key players, Man United, and like you said, I think Leicester took a step down, which is a bit strange. They didn't. This is probably their worst performance so far this season, but
I think they were just getting into a good run of form as well, Leicester. But I mean, I don't think we can. There's a lot of talk at the moment, especially this season, where sort of opinions are being based on one game rather than sort of the overall. I mean, if you look at Leicester's 5 games so far, I mean, they're currently sitting 5th in the table.
I was about to say they're both Chelsea. So
yeah, I mean, so disappointing for Leicester, but I think
I'm sure they'll get over it.
From what we're saying about it, it was the result rather than the performance which was more important for United. Then it was settled by a single penalty within the sort of first 6 or 7 minutes, so it was just that sort of game, really. But 3 points nonetheless, less for United. They'll move on. I'm sure they'll keep getting criticism, but all they can do is try and win matches. So down to Spurs Palace. I guess I better take this one. So for me personally, I think there were some positives and some niggly negatives. I'll start with the positives. I thought Serge Aurier very, very well. I thought, considering it's his first start of the season, there's been a lot of talk at Spurs with regards to the right back with Trippier going. Walker Peters started the season in that position, but he's injured. And I know at Arsenal, so the last game before the international break, Poch played Davinson Sanchez at right back, and Aurier was on the bench, and me for one, I was certainly saying that I think Aurier should have been playing, because he's not the best right back in the world, but I think he's good enough. I think he's good enough to be in our starting 11.
I didn't realise how young he was. He's only 26, from what I've seen.
Yeah. He's had a bit of a career, and he did want to leave in the summer by all accounts.
Well, I heard. I did hear that after the game that it cropped up. So someone said that he was.
I mean, I'm glad he stayed. To be honest, I'm glad he stayed.
With your injuries, I think.
Well, yeah, it's not helping. I mean, just with Walker Peters, I think he's the sort of player that he needs a decent run in the side to improve and to get that experience of regular first team football. And I think he's a decent player, but if I had to pick between the two, I'd go Aurier without a doubt. Another bonus for me was the clean sheet. So it's the first clean sheet Spurs have kept this season. I think
carry on.
No, I was just going to say, like you mentioned, with the injuries. So Lo Celso's now out till the end of October, which is a big blow for Spurs, really. I know he was sort of still finding his feet in the Premier League, but that doesn't help. And Ndombele was back, so he started on the bench, but did get some minutes towards the end of the match, which was good. Dele Alli, he was on the bench, but he didn't get on during the match. But I think that if you think Lo Celso and Ndombele coming back, we've got Dele Alli, we've got Davinson Sanchez, we've got Lo Celso. I think from a squad perspective, when they're all fit and when they're all firing, I think it looks pretty good for Spurs. The only slight thing that I found a bit disappointing, and it sounds quite greedy, really, when you're 4-0 up at half time, is I was a bit disappointed they didn't sort of push in the second half.
I'm
not saying they didn't try, but I would have liked to have seen them try to get 6 or 7, and that sounds awful against Palace because I quite like Palace, but I would have liked to have seen them push on.
Yeah, I thought that was the only
rubber stamp it.
The only sort of positive for Palace was that they actually came out in the second half and they were, a lot better than what they were definitely first half, kind of. But it was strange to see that you kind of just let off.
They couldn't have been much worse though.
Yeah,
really.
You kind of let off the gas, kind of second half, and it was more sort of pass and move rather than trying to work too much into the box. You had chances second half, but
it just would have been nice to when you're 4-0 up at half time. I mean, there's always a tendency to sort of just take your foot off the pedal.
Yeah.
I think Spurs go into a run of 4 games in the league. So obviously we've got Champions League in there now and the EFL Cup, but we're away to Leicester, home to Saints, away to Brighton, home to Watford. Then we're at Liverpool sort of towards the end of October. And you can't take anything for granted in this league. But I'd certainly say that they're 4 matches that Spurs should be looking to win.
Yeah.
So if we were to take maximum points, or even 10 points from those 12 available, you'd be pretty happy. But a win's a win. 4-0, and the other, just quickly, the other thing with Spurs I'm liking at the moment is that there's varied goal scorers. So Eriksen's chipped in, Lamella's getting a few, Son's getting a few, Kane's still scoring.
Winks had a good game as well.
Which I think bodes well.
I forgot to say, I thought Winks had a good game as well. Because I think the thing is, when Lo Celso and Dele Alli come back into the team, I'm assuming that it'll be Winks that will be dropping out of the team.
Well, it'd be interesting because I mean he does like Harry Winks, so it would be a bit harsh on him, to be honest, if he was dropped. But we'll move on. So we'll go to Vicarage Road, Watford, Arsenal. The game of two goal kicks.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'll just start on the short goal kick because it literally scares me. I don't like it at all. Just get rid of it. I mean, it was pretty horrendous. The mistake, and I think if you're an Arsenal, I mean, there were so many angry Arsenal fans at the weekend, and I don't blame them really. But this is almost a little bit like the Norwich one. I think we've got to praise Watford and how well they played. Yeah. I'm not sure if it's the newish manager bounce.
I was about to say, are you surprised that they sacked their manager?
Not really, not hugely. I agree
with that they bought in Kike Flores again. Are you surprised
that surprises me a little bit. I mean, I'm kind of with a lot of the Watford fans with the sacking of Javi Gracia is it's not just this season. The back end of last season, they were terrible. And I almost think it's like, well, we'll give him, because a lot of people are saying, well, it's 3 or 4 games, you can't sack him. But I don't feel that it is the 3 or 4 games.
It all happened pretty quick, though, getting the new manager in. So whether it was all
I did read this week that apparently it was agreed before the Newcastle match. So the Newcastle match, win, lose or draw, he was going. So
right.
How true that is or not, I'm not. I'm not that in with the backroom people at Watford, but it's just what I heard.
David Luiz.
He is quality. He's quality for a bit of a giggle, isn't he, David Luiz?
I at the stage of the game where it was at, and to stick your leg out inside the box, it just It just baffles me. It baffles me more that he tried to say that it was outside the box or he didn't touch it. I don't know what he was protesting, whether he was protesting. He said it was outside the box. It clearly wasn't, and it was clearly a foul. So
I think we've got to be careful as actually branding him as a defender going forward, because I'm not sure he is a defender.
I just,
Um,
see the mistakes like that, because obviously, it's pretty much cost them the 3 points. I think that. So, but like you said, fair
you
play
boys
to
must be
Watford.
rubbing your hands at getting
Yeah,
8 million for him.
So, Watford played extremely well second half, and they had some like 20-odd shots as well, I think,
Yeah,
throughout the
they
whole
should
game.
have won
So,
it in the end. I think they should. They
yeah.
had a couple of decent chances to win it. I just got one. Just want to know what you think about this, Chris, because there was a lot of hype about him when Arsenal signed him. They smashed their transfer record to get him.
You talking about Pepe?
Yeah. With Lacazette and Aubameyang, I mean, the three of them, frankly, would put the fear of death in me as a defender.
It's just the pace itself.
Can you imagine what their training must be like? Those three against David Luiz, that'd be pretty interesting to watch.
he probably just takes them all out.
But I think I don't think he's playing badly, but he's come with this reputation. I think I might be wrong, but in Ligue 1 last year, he was only second in goals and assists to Mbappe.
He scored a lot of goals. He's not an out and out striker either, is he? He's more of a winger. So,
but I think he's come over with that reputation of being a goal scorer.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure whether, based on that, we say he's having a poor start to the season when he cost 70-odd million.
Really, because
I think he'll come good, but I'm not sure what we're expecting. What is to be expected?
The thing is, when they
him.
play Lacazette and Aubameyang together, it's hard to tell whether they play two up top or they play a three going forward, and Lacazette, kind of drifts out wide. But it's hard really, because I think Pepe's so used to playing that as a winger. I think they've got play behind the strikers as well. But
there's so much pace between the three of them that. And they could all play in either of the front three positions. I mean, I almost see Aubameyang and Pepe as the out on the flanks, if you like, with Aubameyang's with both of their paces. Really, I see Lacazette as more as like the traditional number 9, but Aubameyang's scoring goals for fun. But you're going to be annoyed as an Arsenal fan, and as a Watford fan, if you take that second half performance. I think they're away at City next week, which isn't ideal. But they're getting these games out of the way, I guess. But I think Watford would be a bit disappointed not to win it in the end, really. But we'll move on to Anfield, Liverpool, Newcastle. No offence to Liverpool or Newcastle fans, but I think we can sort of just skim over this. It's just becoming a bit boring. With Liverpool just winning. Even when they went 1-0 down, I saw the score when it was 1-0 and I thought, I didn't think to myself, we could be on for an upset here. It's almost just a matter of time before Liverpool scored.
So, did you think that VAR missed a penalty on Matip when he was brought down?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And then do you think VAR missed Shaw's tackle, which was 2-footed and off the ground? I thought that was a red card as well.
Yes.
VAR.
I'm jogging my memory.
Let itself down a little bit, but other than that, like you said, it's Liverpool are going to score. There's no doubt that they are going to score. When you've got, I know Origi started. He came off injured, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
For him, obviously, because I'm assuming he started because Firmino was away in the week.
Yeah, but I mean, he came on and he was just
that
different class.
The third goal for Salah, that touch he did, kind of the back heel kind of step fit.
It's where there's a difference for me, and I know we spoke about this last time as well, but United unable to break Saints down and Spurs unable to break Newcastle down. You just knew Liverpool were going to score.
Do you think, right, this might sound a bit crazy, but do you think at this time, at the moment, that Firmino, Mane and Salah are the best top three going in the world together?
Probably.
Because I know you've got
Probably.
PSG, you've got Cavani, Mbappe, and Neymar, but they ain't performing very well at the moment. More the fact
No, I
that
mean, I think there's a difference between on form and names. If you put those three names, I think you're hard pressed to beat that. I mean, I suppose even at Barca, Griezmann and Messi, or Suarez. I mean, I was thinking of Dembele, but yeah, I mean, on form they've got to be. The thing I like about those three, and I know that we've sort of given our view on who we think are the most important out of the three is.
Yeah.
But every single week it's a different one of them.
Yeah.
And I think that's brilliant. That there was a good discussion over the weekend about Raheem Sterling and the form he's in for club and country. And if you were a Liverpool fan, not necessarily taking him back, because I mean, I know there was a bit of bad blood when he left, but the form he's in, which one of the current Liverpool front three would you take out to put Sterling in? And a lot of people were saying that the only one you could realistically take out was Mane.
No,
but for me, he's the one that's the most important. But
I'd say Salah. This is going to sound really bad.
But would you do it? Would you even do it?
I don't know.
Would you take any of them out to put him in? I'm not sure that a lot of people would.
You just have to squeeze him in somewhere. I think.
Why
take
though?
Midfield out and just.
I don't know if you would. I think they're that good.
No.
I think they're that good.
They are that good at the moment.
But I do think that City have got their injury at the moment, and I'm pretty sure at some point Liverpool will have that injury as well. It just depends who it is and to what extent it has an impact on them. But 3 points, you kind of you almost expect it. But there you go. 5 points clear after 5 games. I mean, will they lose at some point? I mean, Arsenal have done it. I guess that's the question. You're putting a lot of eggs in your basket for Sunday. So Sheffield United v Southampton. I think it's a great win for Saints, and a lot of talk was around Saints being a bit shaky at the back. So they're undefeated in their last 3 games now, and only conceding 1 goal, which was the home game against United. So they've gone away to Brighton and won without conceding, and done the same at Sheffield United. I think it's pretty good.
Oh,
I think certainly give them the credit for it.
What did you think of the sending off for Billy Sharp?
I thought it was. I thought it was.
You think it was? His foot was high, wasn't it?
It's stud showing. I think the only thing that made me sway slightly was there were some fans over the weekend saying that there were a couple of not similar challenges, but a couple of bookable challenges that were going in on the Sheffield United players, but the ref it was a free kick and no further action. And I think maybe it was refereed a bit inconsistently, but I think he's got to go for that.
I thought it was a straight red, but some people have said that they didn't think it was, but it's strange in that one for sort of VAR, because it picked up the Sheffield United goal for offside. I think obviously until it was freeze framed, you maybe not have realised it, but I think there was about 6 Sheffield United players in an offside position. Yeah, there was.
It did its job, but I think it was a great goal for Saints. Great individual goal.
He took it around 3 players, didn't he?
It's a bit like Ricky Villa for Spurs.
Another name, Gineppo. Their manager's name is hard enough to say.
Hassan Hoodle. It's the second bit. It's the Hoodle. I love it. But a great win for Saints. I don't think you can take anything away from it, especially the way Sheffield United are playing, the way they've been playing at home. I think credit where it's due. A good win for Saints, and it puts them comfortably mid-table in 10th. So a decent start. Bournemouth Everton. Not sure what's going on at Everton.
I thought this would be a draw. I thought before the game, but why? they've got a quality striker in this Mawase King guy. I just don't think he's getting enough time. I just think he needs more game time than what he's getting.
I think that he's almost coming with a reputation as well.
Yeah.
That he went through a phase where he was scoring in pretty much every game for Italy and for Juventus, and I thought he would be an instant hit, but I think he's one of those ones where he's young, he's going to need a bit of time to adjust.
Two good goals from Callum Wilson. That will help his England chances as well. Because there's another. Am I right in thinking there's another international break in literally like 3 weeks' time?
Yes, on the
and then again in November as well.
Second week of October,
Jesus.
I think it is.
Do you? This is going to be tough. Do you think Tammy Abraham is going to get in that England squad this year?
Yes, I think he'll be in the next one.
You think he'll get it?
I think if he gets another couple of goals between now and the international break, I think it's going to be so difficult.
But then do you take Wilson out?
Not include him.
Is that Wilson out?
I don't know.
You're not going to take Kane or Rashford out.
No. Well, I mean, Wilson's a good player. I mean, I've read today he's linked with United in the January window, but I suppose a lot of people
Rogers also said that don't put it past Jamie Vardy not to come out of retirement as well.
No, and I'd agree with that. But I think if you're looking at it from Tammy Abraham or Callum Wilson, Gareth Southgate's not afraid of leaving people out like Kyle Walker, for example. So I don't think it's that far fetched to think that he may leave Rashford out. I think Sterling, Kane, or Sancho might be a bit different, but Rashford's not setting the world alight at the moment. So, I mean, why not?
Yeah.
But
it should be down on form, not on name.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, it absolutely should be. And I think there was although Musa Keane didn't sort of, I'm not sure if he came on in this one or not. So Calvert-Lewin started, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
But for me, there's two things. I think if Everton have got serious top 6, top 4 ambitions, and no disrespect to Bournemouth, these are the games that they should be winning. And the sort of wheels seem to come off a bit with Everton lately. So that they were being praised, and rightly so, for their clean sheets. I think they had 8 clean sheets in 10 games, and now they've gone last 3 games they've conceded 7. So it's almost as if it's their. I always used to think that whenever I was doing a fantasy football, I'd always be looking at the Everton back 4 with like Tim Howard, Leighton Baines, and stuff, and I thought they were always really solid at the back, and I think they still are, but they go through these phases where they just seem to sort of concede more goals than they should be, and they don't pick up points. I thought they had a decent start to the season. But
just a quick update on the Chelsea game. Mason Mount's come off injured.
We've cursed him. We've cursed him.
Coquelin. It was a really nasty tackle, apparently, from him. So he got booked for it, but he tried to play on, but he's come off.
So we're swaying back towards Liverpool for Sunday?
No. He'll be back.
Okay. So just 2 more games to go. Well, one really, because Villa West Ham's not that eventful. So Brighton Burnley. I think this had a draw written all over it. Their form is very similar. So Brighton have not won in 4 since getting 3 points on the opening day of the season, and in that time they've only scored 2 goals.
They should have won this game.
I think they probably should have.
Chances that they had, and the lack of chances that Burnley had, and then scored at the end. I think you'd be a bit upset if you were a Brighton fan.
But you've got to put these chances away.
I know, yeah.
Like I just said, they've scored 2 goals in the last 4 games without a victory. And I know it's the same for Burnley. So Burnley's exactly the same, 2 points in their last 4 games, but they've only scored once. And if you think the sort of start Ashley Barnes had, Burnley are going to be happier than Brighton, because they've gone away. They've got a last-minute goal to get
Agreed.
a point. But two big games up next. So Brighton go away to Newcastle and Burnley are at home to Norwich. So they're all in and around each other, these teams, when they're playing each other. They're almost games you don't want to be losing if you're one of those teams. So lastly, on to last night's game. No real action apart from the two Villa fans sort of having a bit of a square up. Really, that seemed to be the biggest talking point from it. But I mean, it does get Villa out the relegation zone. That point.
Yeah, but West Ham went down to 10 men. Villa should have gone on and won that game. To be fair, I watched the second half, and I didn't think it was the second yellow card either. To be fair, but well, VAR can't do anything about that. So.
No. Okay, so that's the Premier League review. Lots of action, lots of goals, lots of talking points. So that about wraps it up for part one. So we've got a busy part two as well. So we've got the EFL review, so covering the Championship through to League Two. We've still got our National League update with Yeovil Watch, who just can't stop winning at the moment. Quick update on the predictions challenge. Then we're going to talk you through our new FA Cup feature. You may have seen it on social media. Chris will give us some stats in the wonders of white, and then we'll get Pete's teaser wrong. So we'll see you in part two. Hello and welcome back to part two of View from the Sideline podcast. We're going to get right back into it. So we're going to go down into the Championship. So at the weekend, Leeds have moved back to the top of the table with a late 2-0 win away at Barnsley. The game seemed to be heading for a goalless draw into the 84th minute when Leeds got the opener. And then they quickly added a second from the penalty spot in the 89th minute. They've replaced Swansea at the top of the table after they fell to their first defeat of the season. They went down 1-0 at home to Forest. Charlton, they stay in third after losing at home to Birmingham. Bristol City and Preston have moved up to fourth and fifth respectively after both winning at the weekend. And West Brom, they're in the final playoff place in sixth. They got a point in a 1-1 draw away at Fulham. And West Brom actually remain the only unbeaten side still in the Championship. At the other end, Stoke and Huddersfield, they remain rooted at the bottom after both losing at the weekend. Both teams still only have 1 point so far this season. And they're now 4 points adrift of Barnsley, who are in 22nd, who, as we said, lost to Leeds. Wigan are in 21st. They did manage to get a point in a 2-2 draw away at Hull. So Stoke and Huddersfield are the only two teams in the league yet to get a victory, which I find hugely surprising, really, considering in the last sort of 12, 24 months, both have been in the Premier League. So on to League One. There's lots of goals in League One at the weekend. There were 7 teams in total who scored 3 or more goals. Coventry are top. They got a point in a 0-0 draw away at Burton. They're a point clear of Ipswich in second, who also drew. They drew 0-0 at home to Doncaster. Only 2 points separate the teams in the playoff places, with Wycombe third, despite losing 2-0 away at Gillingham. And Peterborough, who are in sixth, they picked up their 4th win in a row with a 6-0 win at home to Rochdale. At the bottom, Bolton, they still remain on minus 11 after another crushing defeat. They lost 6-1 away at Rotherham.
They scored though.
They did. They've conceded 23 goals in their 6 matches so far. So I think as far as Bolton are concerned, as a football fan or as a Bolton fan, you've got to be happy that they're just still in existence, really.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be really tough for them to claw back that deficit. Southend, they picked up their first point of the season in a 3-3 draw at home to Fleetwood. Despite taking the lead, they needed an 87th minute equaliser to rescue their first point of the season. Wimbledon make up the final relegation place and did pick up a point at the weekend in a 1-1 draw at home to Shrewsbury. So on to League Two, Chris.
So after a week off, the table has changed slightly, but there is no change at the top. So the leaders are still Exeter. They drew 2-2 with Leyton Orient. A very late penalty for Exeter, saving a point there for them. Second place, Swindon. They had a comfortable 3-0 home win against Macclesfield. Third place is Forest Green. They beat Colchester 1-0. Newport have moved down to fourth after they lost 2-0 to Northampton. Newport finishing that game with 10 men. Crewe, who have also moved down to fifth, lost at home to Cambridge by 3-2. Crewe were down to 10 men in that one as well in the first half, and they actually took the lead in the second half by 2-1, but ended up losing the game. And Cheltenham beat Salford away 2-0. They're in sixth. And the last playoff spot is Bradford. They beat Walsall by 1-0. So Stevenage are rooted to the bottom. They still have yet to pick up a win, and they are only 1 point behind Scunthorpe as well. Stevenage lost 3-2 to Carlisle. So we'll move on to Yeovil in the National League. What a great couple of weeks has been, like Rich said in the first half. 4 wins on the bounce now, and at the weekend they beat AFC Fylde 3-2. Yeovil went 3 up in that one. Murphy and Hippolyte scoring the first 2, and then new signing Jimmy Smith scoring on his debut. So Yeovil are up to 4th in the league now. They're 3 points off 3rd. So yeah, it's good to see them doing really well at the moment, and their next 2 games are away to Solihull and Aldershot. So yeah,
Makes a change, didn't it, Chris, from last year?
Yeah, 4th.
Something to celebrate for them.
Yeah, well, they're up to 4th now, so they just got to keep going.
Continue.
Keep going.
I think we're their good luck charm, personally. I hope they know this.
Last season, we definitely were not.
So. No, but things can change. So yes, that's the EFL and National League updates. So we're just going to touch on predictions briefly. So Pete, our resident quizmaster, was our guest this week. Not a great score. He only managed 3, but I only managed 6, and you only managed 9, Chris. So it was pretty poor. So the table is wide open. We're still yet to have 2 people on the same score, which I think is a real bonus for this season. And up next is friend of the podcast, Adam, who is hoping to improve on his 0 from last year. Yeah. So he is in the 0 club, joined only by Lewis, the only person to score 0 last season. He's got Leicester to win against Spurs, so I'm not sure about that. Anyway, so the matches will be on social media either later today or tomorrow. I think they'll be going on, and then obviously just keep an eye out over the weekend for the scores. So here we go. New feature. So you may have seen on social media that we have decided to join the FA Cup early this year. So we're looking at the second qualifying round, which takes place this coming Saturday. So just to give you a bit of background about what we did. So we chose 100 teams at random from I think there's 80 ties at the weekend, so it's a lot of matches. So we picked 100 teams at random, and we decided the team that came out we would follow. So we would follow from Saturday's matches, and we'll follow it right the way through to the final. Basically, up first is Runcorn Town. So Runcorn will take on Farsley Celtic on Saturday. And then whoever wins that, we will follow them, and so on and so on and so on, right up until the final. So it will be something that we'll keep going throughout the season. And I think it would be good we'll keep an eye on them. We'll keep an eye on Runcorn. So we're going to do a bit on them today, just to get them to know them a bit better, we are sort of, well, we are officially following them. We are Runcorn. We are Runcorn fans.
Runconians.
We are Runconians. So, they may not be a team that's familiar to everybody that listens to us. So we're going to try and educate you and just get a bit of awareness for them, really. So, Runcorn Town, also known as Town, they currently play their football in the North West Counties Football League Premier Division, and they sit in 9th place after 5 games with 3 wins and 2 defeats. But we can absolutely put a positive spin on that. With games in hand, they could go into the top 4 if they were to win the games in hands against a team above them. They've played in the Premier Division since 2011-12 season after gaining promotion from Division 1 by finishing as runners-up. And the first season back in the Premier Division, they've also finished runners-up. So runners-up in the First Division, promotion, runners-up in the Premier Division the very next season. So they were formed in 1967 under the original name of CKD and played in the Runcorn Sunday League. They changed their name to Mond FC in 1970, and they played under that name until the beginning of the 2005-06 season, where they changed to their current name of Runcorn Town. The club's first adventure in the FA Cup came in the 2011-12 season, where they played Bryhouse Town and won 4-1. Scott Burton became the club's first ever goal scorer in the competition. That's quite an honour, I think.
Oh, yeah.
The best performance in the Cup was in the 2014-15 season, where they reached the 3rd qualifying round but ended up losing to Norton United. Record appearance holder with 281 is Danny Dalton, and James McShane holds the club record for goals, scoring 157. Here's a good stat. I'm just going to put this into context. So their record home win in a Cup competition is 22-0 against Roundhouse Rovers in the Runcorn Senior Cup. But I'm just going to put that into a bit of context for you. So I did a bit of research. So Man City's record Cup win is 12-0. Liverpool's is 9-0. Spurs is 13-2. Arsenal's is 12-0 and Chelsea's is 9-1. Runcorn's is 22-0.
There you go.
That is one hell of a result. So yeah, we're following Runcorn. So we've got them in our predictions challenge for this weekend. Chris is clearing his throat because he's. I think I'm a bit more involved in this than Chris is, because out of the 3 of us, I've gone for a Runcorn win. So I have gone for Runcorn to beat Farsley Celtic 2-0. Chris and Adam haven't. But I think it would be really good. I think it's, first of all, I think it's right that we are putting a bit of a spotlight, whatever we can do to put a spotlight on the lower league clubs at this stage of the FA Cup. I think is a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I would like Runcorn to have a bit of a cup run so we can do a bit on them each week.
You never know.
Well, yeah, you never know. You never know. But we have. We've also got in touch with the club as well, so we've dropped them a note to say what we're doing, and then
we've had a bit of a following, haven't we, on social media?
Yeah, we have.
Follows,
yeah, which is good.
Committee members, which is good to see. So.
Which is, yeah, absolutely. So we have said that we're going to be doing a bit of a segment on them tonight. I hope we've done it justice. And hopefully, if they stay in the competition after the weekend, we can do a bit more next week, and then I think they're our first team. We'll keep an eye on them anyway. So best of luck to Runcorn at the weekend, and I've got everything crossed that they progress. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed, Chris. I would have given up the 3 points on the predictions challenge to
10
to support our team. Oh well, 10 if you get it right. Yeah. Okay, so that was Runcorn Town, but again, best of luck to them. So we're going to do a few other things in the build up to the match on Saturday, and then obviously we'll we'll try and keep our social media channels updated with the result as and when it sort of comes in. So fingers crossed. Anyway, so we'll move on. Chris, your turn. Wonders of White. I hope I haven't stolen all your stats again.
You've stepped on my toes slightly.
You haven't done about Runcorn's cup.
No,
have
but you have stepped on my toes a little bit with one of them.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So I'll just do that one first. So Southampton have won 3 consecutive away games in all competitions without conceding a goal for the first time since 1986.
And that's the one I trod on your toes on.
Kind of, yeah, because you said the last league games, but if you include the cup competition as well, they didn't actually concede in that either. So.
Yeah. It's not the same then.
It was kind of the same.
Okay. I trod on your little toe, just.
Yeah. Gareth Bale has been directly involved in 19 goals in the last 19 home appearances for Wales. That's 14 goals and 5 assists.
One-man team. No, they're not really.
They've only scored 14 goals. They've only scored 19 goals.
I'll take that back. I think Wales have got some really good players. I'll take that back.
Sadio Mane has never lost a Premier League home game in which he has found the net, winning 32 and drawing 2.
And hence he's the most important of the 3.
Yeah, kind of. Okay, and Chelsea have become the first team in Premier League history to have 11 consecutive Premier League goals scored by players aged under 21.
Sorry, I nodded off when you said Chelsea.
Yeah,
that is
that's history there, mate.
That's a good Faith in the kids. I think a lot of people doubted it. Me for one, before the season.
But it's working so far, so
yeah. Fingers crossed. Be a good game Sunday. Okay, so I think the only thing we've got left to do is get Pete's teaser wrong. So this is tricky. So I think we need to sort of
work backwards.
Get rid of the runs we know.
So
Solskjaer, Mourinho, Van Gaal, David Moyes,
Ferguson,
Alex Ferguson,
right?
Ron Atkinson.
Yep.
I'm out.
See, this is where I'm starting.
I am literally out.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So I think we almost say 6, and then we just add 2 or 3 to it.
Okay, so
when I'm sure Ferguson.
70 or 69?
Yeah, I'm sure Ferguson joined United in 80 or 81, sort of around when I was born. So we've got to fill 11 years.
12 years.
And Ron Atkinson.
Ron Atkinson.
Well, Ron Atkinson was before, so we've got to fill sort of 10-ish years. There's got to be like 3 managers in there. I'm going to say 10. I'm going to say 10 and not spend too much time on it because I've got no idea. Okay. So 10 is a relatively educated guess. Are you checking?
I'm checking. Okay, so we're going for 10, yeah? So we've got, so after Busby, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 is the total because you can't. Obviously, the question was you can't have the 2 that were on like
gigs.
Caretakers. So there's 2 of those. There's two caretaker managers.
So who's after Busby before Atkinson?
Including all of them is Franco Farrell, Tommy Docherty, Dave Sexton, Ron Atkinson, Alex Ferguson, David Moyes, Ryan Giggs, Van Gaal, Mourinho, Solskjaer. Ferguson took over in '86.
Oh, well, there you go. I must have been asleep for the first 6 years of my life.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You were right, there's 10, but 2 of them were caretaker managers, so the total was 8.
I wish I could take credit. That was just a guess. But that's a good question, Pete. So thanks as always for your teasers. Yeah, I think the fact we got 4 in a row I think he brought the big guns out. But yeah, we'll have to admit defeat on that one. So we're 4-1 for the season. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. As we leave you, there's only 2 games in the Champions League that have actually got goals in. So Ajax are 1-0 up. Ajax 1-0 up on Lille, which is obviously the same group as Chelsea, and Salzburg are 3-1 up on Genk. Yeah, and that's it so far. All the other games, so Liverpool, Barcelona, Chelsea, all 0-0 at the moment. Dortmund v Barcelona, I think that's a
nice game, isn't it?
Tasty game on paper, yeah. So that's it for this week. So please, if you're listening, keep an eye out for Runcorn at the weekend.
Up the Runcorn.
Up the town. It's a feature for us. I think it's good to get involved. I think that although we haven't heard back from the club yet, I'm sure they would appreciate any sort of follows or sort of contact on social media just to get involved, raise the profile. Hopefully they can.
They have a home game tomorrow night, which we will update you on as well. So they've got a home league game tomorrow night, so we'll keep you up to date with that one.
Yeah.
As well.
And then this episode, so episode 5 for this season, will be available. Oh, Genk have just scored 3-2 in the first half. So we'll be this episode will be available in the next 24 hours. I think it will be online.
Yep.
Check out the website as always. We've got all our previous episodes on there. We've got the blog. We've got everything predictions related. Correction, Genk. It must be VAR or something. It's just gone back to 3-1. So yeah, that's it. So
it's 4-1 to Salzburg now.
What is going on in this game? What is going on? Someone scored at the wrong end or something. Anyway, so thanks for listening. Enjoy your week, and then we'll be back next week with all the action from the weekend. So
see you next week.
Yeah, speak to you soon.